everybody has something to offer. Sometimes people want to start a new business and they feel like the space is oversaturated. I think everyone has to think that know that they have something unique to bring and that there is always space.
Welcome to Chapters by Propel, where we take a peek into the real lives of trailblazing community women with a mix of honesty, humor, and inspiration. I'm your host, Melanie Kuehl, and this is just part of the story. This episode is brought to you by Be Seated. Be Seated is incredible because they have everything from utensils to chargers to cups to plates to make any of your tables gorgeous. Everything they sell is disposable, so you can customize your table, change up your plates, change up anything you want. These are perfect for any size gathering, whether you're hosting a holiday or a birthday or a bris. We love Be Seated and hope that you'll enjoy checking them out too. Welcome to Chapters by Propel. I'm so happy to have today someone who we all love. Every single person who I told that Fortune Dushey was coming to the podcast said in these words, I love her. So I'm so happy that you're here, Fortune. Thank you for coming. Can you tell me, for people who might not know you, who are you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. And with that, I am Fortune Dushey. I am a mother of 3. I have 1 grandchild and, God willing, 1 on the way. So I was raised in New Jersey, went to NYU, and have been living in the city, I think, 28, almost 29 years now. Oh, business-wise, I'm a content creator, and I also host events for fashion brands.
It's a lot. My God. So you're a mom. You have a lot going on business-wise. I don't even really know where to start, but I guess we can go back to like NYU. So you went to college, graduated from college. What happened?
So I got married. I moved to the city. I settled in, and then I was going for lunch every day. And when the waiters and waitresses started to call me by my first name, I said, it is time for me to get a job. And my Aunt Roxanne, who's a jewelry designer at the time, connected me with someone who used to work at Mademoiselle magazine. I don't know if anybody remembers that name, but they were launching a new magazine, Style Beyond Size. It was called Mode Magazine. So I started to work there for a year or 2. And then I decided that I wanted to go back to school to get my master's. And so I got accepted for my master's in like sociology. I don't know why I chose that, but I did. And I got pregnant and 9/11 happened. And so I quit. I guess I didn't continue with that. And so I had my children. Or I was raising my children, and at the time I didn't feel like I could work. It was just not something that I felt like I could balance when my kids were so young. But I did want to take different classes just to see, what interested me, even if I can do something part-time or whatnot. And so I took a class in journalism. And one of the projects or one of the assignments was I had to go and interview rickshaw drivers.
Seriously?
Seriously. Like I found them in Central Park. I don't know what it was about, but that was just like one of the things. And then I took a handbag design class. I actually made a prototype and found someone to design it for me. And then I found a factory in Queens. And then I realized it was a huge commitment. So instead, I went to intern for Carlos Fauci and Stevie Russo at the time. I don't know if he's still involved, but he was so kind and gracious to give me a job there. And then they ended up hiring me. And then from there, somebody put me in touch with a life coach, actually Tanya Zuckerbrot at the time, put me in touch with a life coach, and I started working with her because I wanted to work. My kids, now I was like in my mid to late 30s, and I just needed direction. And I met with this life coach. Her name was Meredith Haberfeld, and she really helped me decide where I wanted to be. And then there's more.
I want to hear more.
You want to hear more?
I do want to hear more. So a few things. One, I love that it sounds like you're someone who loves learning. And I think that that's so evident even now, like what we see of you is learning about like everything there is. So the fact that you took a journalism class and a handbag design class and was moving forward with all different kinds of positions.
I got my real estate license. I got my bartending license.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Kind of just like all over the place.
Oh my God, you really did everything. And you were a young mom and you had 3 kids. I'm saying you had a lot going on at the same time.
I guess so. I guess I'm just a curious person by nature, or just wanted to find my passion.
Yeah. And I think it sounds like or seems like that's what ultimately happened.
Yes.
So after trying all of that, how did this begin where you became someone who was putting content out there and, I mean, researching everything under the sun? I have said to you, like, I don't know how you know something about everything, but how did that happen?
I mean, well, that's very kind of you. I don't see myself as somebody that knows everything about everything, but I think this is my space, and just through asking questions and reading and just going with what I like for myself, that's what I share.
And when did the blog? It started as a blog, right?
So, actually, I started off as a stylist.
Oh.
And I just want to share this because I feel like so many people ask me about how I built that side of the business. And basically, she had me reach out to 10 people once a week and let them know that I was a stylist, and if they or anybody that they knew were interested, to please let me know. It was hard. It was like the most uncomfortable thing because first of all, I was like, am I a stylist? Like, do I even know what I'm doing? And now I have to reach out to 10 people. I felt like it was so aggressive, but she like literally, we used to meet in person. She sat there with me until I reached out to 10 people. And in the beginning, I did it pro bono. I was like, just give me, I'll give you a complimentary consultation, and then you'll let me know if, you like my style or whatever it was. And that's really how I built my business. And then word of mouth. And so I think a few years into that, she told me, why don't you start a blog? Like you have style or whatever it was. And I always say it takes one person to believe in you. And at the time, the whole blog world was blowing up. And I was like, okay, I had no idea what I was doing, but I just went with it. And then building it slowly. And then when my first daughter was getting married, I just felt like between planning a wedding and the styling and the blogging, I had to choose one direction. And I decided to go with the blogging.
And the blog seems like, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, it really covers so much. And it also sounds like it incorporates a lot of what you love as far as writing and also style and also, I mean, there's everything. Travel. I look to you if I want to know what book to read, what moisturizer to use, what socks to put on. I mean, really anything. But it looks like it incorporates a lot of things that you love.
It does. I think I've now, I've really kind of focused in on my actual blog on fashion. But on my Instagram, I kind of, that's where I share all the things.
I know, and I think everyone looks to you for all the things.
Thank you.
Is there something you love most about your job right now?
I think there's a lot that I love. I love the whole creative process of it. I love connecting with people. I love connecting people. Just all the relationships I've made. I think that all the little and big partnerships that I have, like it's such a win for me because it means that these brands believe in me. Yeah. And what else do I love? I love when people, reach out to me and tell me that they bought a certain thing or they tried a new product and that they love it. And, that's what you want. You want to know that you're somehow making a difference in even like the littlest, ways in other people's lives. So even with a skincare product,
no, it does. But it really does make people happy, and people need someone to look to who can give them that information. I see you a lot of times on Instagram posting people writing to you, which I love because it really does show how much you care about the people that you're affecting.
Right.
In this whole journey that you have, basically finding your career, like, have there been any moments of challenge or bumps when you felt like maybe this wasn't right? Because I think a lot of what I talk about here with everyone who comes on is that, we're all looking at you, at everyone saying, wow, like, how does that happen? But I think it's so important to also think back to, like, a moment or something that was an obstacle that then you were able to overcome and sort of what helped you overcome it.
So I think there were two times that I felt like it was a challenging time for me. But I'll just say this: that I think I'm always questioning. I love what I do, and I think that just in this type of business, no matter how much you think you're being guarded or you try to keep things private, you're putting yourself out there, and so that's something that I've always kind of
Wrestled with.
yeah, exactly. Because people, listen, it's human nature to come to conclusions, to think certain things, and nobody really knows. I mean, what you're posting are moments in your life, and it's not necessarily like the whole picture, or it's human nature. But that part of it has always been something that I go back and forth with. And at the end of the day, I try to stay in my lane and think about my why when I post, and just to be authentic and myself, and to know that I know, without sounding like hokey pokey, but that somebody told me, as long as your intentions are in the right place, like, you're good. And so that's what I try to go with. But in terms of challenges, I think the pandemic was a challenge, because I think that the whole space changed, and there was all like this cancel culture, and what to post, what not to post, how to post. And so I think so much changed. I just think that was just one time. And then I think with my mom, my mom was, she passed away recently, and she got sick. And so I had to take a break, or I wanted to take a break, I should say. And I think in a way it was a good thing, because, like I said, sometimes I wondered, is this the path I want to take, as much as I love it? But I think for me at least, it's normal to just question. And so even though that was a challenging time, it made me realize that I do love what I do. So it was challenging, and yet I am now back.
I know. I'm so happy you're back.
Thank you.
And I know I said this to you, but I just have to say that you wrote the most beautiful post about it. You really combined like dealing with grief and also carrying on with your life, and that what we see isn't necessarily what there is. And I thought you just put it so beautifully.
Thank you. Well, it's important to me, because, like I said, I think that people are just so curious, and they think certain things or want. And listen, you can't control everything all the time, but I just felt like something that I wanted to share.
And you're great about doing that, about like every now and then talking even about just social media, exactly like you're
Right.
saying. Like, what you're seeing is not the whole picture. No one leads a perfect life. And
No.
I think it's so important that you continue, especially for people younger than us, but that people realize like this isn't the whole picture. Thank God there's so much good.
Right, of course. It's even like with photos. Oh my God, like, your photos, you look good, or whatever it is. And I'm like, I take 10,000 photos to get one decent one. I mean, half the time it's with a professional photographer. So, and it's lighting and it's angle. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, you do.
There's so many factors to take into account.
Yes, no, you're right. In terms of like balance, Fortune, because I think this is something else. I know you're laughing already. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. But in terms of balancing family, friends, work, religion, like what does that look like for you?
So it's funny. I feel like I've always strove for some type of balance, and I realize that there is no such thing. I'm going to try to explain what somebody once told me that I feel like gave me more of a sense of calm, is that, like, to imagine that you have all these different cups, and each cup is labeled with family, with friends, with self-care, with community, and that depending what area of your life needs that in that specific time, that's what you're going to give attention to. And so sometimes, like, your family cup will be full, but maybe your self-care won't be full. And sometimes you'll feel like, what, I really need self-care right now. And so maybe, like, the friend cup will be not as full, but to know that you're going to put your attention where you need, and that, like, you can't be all the things and do all the things all the time. That being said, I try to keep organized.
Yeah.
I think staying organized, I think trying to schedule things in. There are so many things that you have to manage, and if I don't have it scheduled, then I won't be able to show up.
Yes, you're right. And I think being organized seems to also be a theme that runs through for busy people who are getting so much done. Like,
Right.
there's really whatever your method of organizing is, like, everyone needs some kinds of system, because Otherwise,
You're all over the place.
You're all over the place.
And people make fun of me. Oh my God, are you going to pencil me in or this or that? But I feel like I'm just trying to own it instead of being like, no, you can call me. It's fine. But then I realize, you know what? I do have to, schedule things. That's the only way I can make it work.
You're right. And I've never heard the way you described the cups, but I think it's a great visual because it's just a constantly moving and shifting image for me. Yeah. And I think that you're right. Some weeks are like insanely busy for work and you feel like you can't be there for family, and some weeks are, the opposite.
Exactly.
And it also makes me think actually of raising children, which I feel like, I've heard said so many times, like every kid needs different things at different times, and it's not going to be equal, but it's sometimes like one child really needs this much and your other children don't, and you have to sort of move with that.
Yeah.
I think it's such a great just way to think about it. What would people be, you think, surprised to know about you, Fortune?
That I have a fear of speaking. That coming here today,
Can't be.
I do. I have a fear of public speaking, but I'm here doing it. And what else? I guess something fun is I took ballroom dancing classes. I have written that in my blog. I was in some competition. But like for beginners, so
like recently?
No, like in my late 30s. I did a lot of things in my late 30s. What else? I'm trying to get to all 50 states, which most people that follow me know. Yes. I have. I've been to 29, so I have 21 more to go. What else? I just turned 50.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm just going to keep saying just forever.
Perfect. You can say just till you're 120. I think it's okay.
What else?
You'll probably look like you were 40 till you're 120 also.
You're too sweet. Then thank you.
Do you have any favorite travel spots, as long as we're talking about travel and your states? I love to see everywhere you've been.
Well, like here in the U.S.? Or,
sure.
I haven't been to as many places as you think, but I guess my favorite states, I love New Mexico. Loved Tennessee, Charleston. I feel like this is going to sound so cheesy, but I feel like you can really find the beauty in any state, and I think that each place that I visited has lent itself to a different experience. I mean, I love Aspen, I love Montana, I love being out west.
Even your guides to travel are so useful because it's like a little bit of everything.
Thank you. I hope so. I try.
How do you do your research? Like, do you have any way that whether it's your trips or your skincare products or the wellness, like, is there any way that you do your research on what you're putting out there and recommending? Because it seems like you really do recommend awesome products.
Thank you. I think, it's from things that I've experienced personally, products that people have sent me. If a brand ever wants to work with me, I always say I need to try out the products first just to make sure that it's kind of like something that I would authentically use in my own life. But I think it's just word of mouth, trying things out for myself. My girls are like a great resource. I still probably am one of the few that read magazines, social media, but it's just really what works for me.
Yeah, and then sharing it with everyone
else,
which we really all appreciate.
Thank you. And asking questions. I'm always like reaching, like with my, with travel, I'll ask people that I know to like send me their list if I know that they've traveled to that particular destination, or I'll post on social media and say, like, please share, and then I'll reshare. So
no, and also it sounds like, really Fortune, being curious has like led you in this direction altogether. And I'm saying in terms of like learning so much, everything from ballroom dancing to journalism to handbag design.
Yeah.
And it seems like this, like writing the blog and posting on Instagram is just such a perfect like representation of you, because it's everything that you're learning about and then sharing and giving back to the world, to all of us.
Well, thank you. I think I need to come visit you more often.
And visit me as often as you want. I'm telling you,
Fortune,
you really, I think you're just, really incredible. And just also I can tell how giving and kind and how much you want to share everything you know with everyone.
Thank
you. And
you.
that's your spirit.
Thank you.
As far as like how Judaism being part of a community like plays into your life, like, can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I think that there are lots of podcasts and books and things about women and men and everyone who like really are entrepreneurial or who start businesses. And I think what makes us different is this really strong community piece that we're so lucky to have?
Well, I think it's very important, I mean, now more than ever, to be a voice. And so I think that, like, that's just something in general. Are you talking about, like, social media? Or are you talking about just me?
Even you personally, like, how does, like, being part of the community or having this, importance?
It's a support system. I think being a part of a community is a support system. I think it's something I'm proud of, my Judaism. I think that being a part of it is also, gives me strength, makes you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And you know that when you give, you get back in return. When I was going through a hard time, I had asked one of the rabbis or their wives, like, what can I do? And they said, well, the more you learn, the happier you are. And not that I'm learning any more than I was, but I just think that there's just, when you connect yourself, it really, you're getting back and you're growing and you have a stronger foundation. And it's just something that makes me feel good.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
I don't know,
Yes.
Did I answer the question?
You're perfect.
I don't know.
I'm wondering, Fortune, can you think about, like, some pieces of advice that you feel like were really meaningful to you?
I think that everybody has something to offer. Sometimes people want to start a new business and they feel like the space is oversaturated. I think everyone has to think that know that they have something unique to bring and that there is always space. So always keep that in mind. I think that's important to never, even though it's hard, to never let rejection stop you. When I first started out and I was reaching out to people for my blog, I got so many rejections. And I was okay with it because, well, I don't know, maybe that's just one thing I got lucky with, not letting that deter me. But I know that success doesn't come overnight, and not that I feel like I've reached success yet, but that it's just being consistent and working hard, taking it slow and steady for me, and you'll get there eventually if this is really what you're passionate about. I think this is like such a silly thing, but one little thing that I learned in the beginning was when I used to, send out emails and I didn't get a response. I once told somebody, well, they said, did they answer you? And I said, well, they didn't. I said, no. They said, did you reach out? Or I don't know what happened. I said, well, they didn't answer me. They said, Fortune, this person probably gets 10,000 million emails a day. Like, maybe she forgot. Maybe, she didn't get it somehow. It ended up in her spam. Like, follow up. Follow up, follow up, follow up is all I can say. When you don't get it, I'm not saying like you need to stalk them, but sometimes people do forget. So don't take things personally.
That's great. I mean, the fact that you called people, like, for when you were a stylist, 10 people just to ask them, that to me would be far more difficult than sending the email and then following up. But you are right. We all assume it's rejection.
Exactly.
When it probably a lot of times it is just.
It's nothing personal. And also, the more you put yourself out there, the more comfortable you'll get. So it's hard in the beginning, but then you keep doing it. It's like, working out.
No, it is. You're right. It is. It's all great
Yeah.
advice. And I think, like, you and I also talked a little bit about, like, imposter syndrome, which everyone I've spoken to has to some degree. I didn't know that, but it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. It's such a real thing. It's taken time. I mean, even like when I called myself, now apparently everybody's calling themselves content creators, but in the beginning, like, it was so hard for me to say, micro-influencer or blogger. I was like, who am I? And like, this just doesn't feel like that's who I am. But yeah, you kind of get over it, I guess.
And now you own it. Now you own it.
Kind of. Trying.
When you think about, like, your legacy and how you want people to know you or to talk about you, what comes to mind?
I think that I made them smile, that I somehow, even with a post or a conversation, that I lifted them up, that I made a difference. But I think most importantly, just for being kind, for being a good mom, for being there for my family, those are the things that I really want to be known for.
I think you will. I think you will. As far as your next chapter, Fortune, do you have any idea what your next chapter is?
I wish I knew. Taking it day by day. Sometimes I think about opening up a boutique one day. Another day, it's like going full in the travel world. The next day, it's like just maybe playing tennis and growing a garden. I don't know.
They all sound like good options.
But right now, it's just day by day.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And it's nice that the way you talk about coming back to what you were doing and really finding that this is what you want to be doing right now, I think is a real presence of mind to be able to say, I left and I'm back, and this is really where I want to be right now. You don't necessarily need a long-term plan.
No.
We'll see what happens. Fortune, I think something that probably a lot of people would want to know is, how did you start hosting events for fashion brands?
So when I was first starting out blogging, I had reached out to the West Side Boutique, which was a boutique that had just opened up in my neighborhood. And I emailed them and they said, oh, well, they weren't I forgot what they said, but really weren't open to that, but that they wanted me to host a shopping event at their boutique. And of course, I said yes because I just wanted to get my foot in the door. I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what I was doing. But I did what I knew, and thank God it was successful. And so I posted a recap on my Instagram page, and lo and behold, Nilly Low 10 reached out. And then at the time, they're still very much a brand, Marie Chantal, which was a children's brand, reached out. And so from there, it's like this whole other part of my business became something. And that's why I always say, Instagram is my business card, and that's one of the beauties of social media, is that allowed me to connect with different brands. Without even that, I posted a shoe, and then I tagged it to Etro, and then Etro reached out and said, they must have seen that I was hosting events, and so it just became, like I said, another adjacency to my business. So, that's how it all started.
It's unbelievable. And also, again, speaks to you putting yourself out there and constantly putting yourself out there and trying. And I think that I'll speak personally for myself, but it's hard to do.
It is. It is hard to do. And, but yeah, I think,
I think when you do, it pays off. I think that's the lesson. And I think that is another just awesome experience that now you can add to your portfolio of things you do.
I think it's also important to remember it also took so much time, and I took it really slow. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I'm not huge, but I've definitely built a business and created, a lot of, networks, relationships, and things that I'm proud of.
You're huge for us, Fortune. You're huge for us.
Thank you.
Can you give us as we're heading into spring, anything you're loving? And it can be any skincare, it could be fashion, it could be anything.
I'm always a neutral girl. In terms of trends and all that, I'm always interested, but I always go by what I like and what I feel good in. I know that pastels are a big trend. But that doesn't surprise me because I feel like come spring, pastels are always. What else? I tend to stick to classics. I'm really liking Michael Kors collection this season. Just very wearable, classic pieces. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know exactly what's going on. That's why it's so funny when people say, oh, you know everything, and did you see this, and did you see that? I'm I'm all over the place. I haven't really gotten there yet, and shame on me, but I'll let you know.
Let us know. You'll let us know on part 2 of the podcast.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I want to thank you so much for being here. I know when I asked you at first, you did say, I really don't do public speaking. I'm really shy. And I really wanted you to come on, and lots of people wanted you to come on, because we do all admire the way that you live and how you run your business, and the fact that you are so dedicated to your family. And I think that there's so many lessons here in terms of just living a curious life and being a learner forever, and really prioritizing what's important to you and how to balance it all. I'm not going to forget your cups. I love that.
Well, good. Thank you. That makes me feel good. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Fortune, for coming.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us at Chapters by Propel. If you're ready for the next chapter in your career journey, give us a call. We're happy to help you with career coaching, navigating graduate school, or leveling up your business with some business strategy and consulting. You can email us at info@thepropelnetwork.org. Special thanks to Melanie Kuehl, our amazing host, to Hit Central Studios, and the amazing team at Propel. Good night.